Hello, everyone. Welcome to another weekly recap of the SEO news. This one is for week 46, or no, 47 was last week. So, yeah, 47. Yeah, a lot of stuff to talk about. So, let's just jump right into it. I've got my co host, Casper the Magnificent, also working at Precis Digital with me. And yeah, let's just jump right into it. The first one here is really interesting. The DOJ has decided to sell off, well, has decided for Google they need to sell off Chrome. Now, the reason for that is this market dominance that Google has had. And if you own a browser, you can essentially say, okay, you can only use Google with this browser when it comes to search engines. And that's not completely true. I actually saw an update I can't remember how many months ago, where when you open a new profile in Chrome, for example, it'll ask you which should be your base search engine. So it's giving you the option. And not only that, that list keeps rearranging itself. So I feel like they've tried to do this, but the Justice Department has simply said that's not enough. And I don't think that's the only problem here, is that Google is also using a lot of um, user metrics from Chrome for their algorithm. And that's really, I think, the potency is that they're tracking a lot of user behavior to help them define what ranks well, what content works. That's what they're going to lose if they sell off Chrome. So do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's interesting because, as you also write here, they will have to either buy or live without the data from Chrome if they're forced to sell it. And essentially, if they are forced to sell and not own Chrome anymore, it also means that all the search engines do have access to buy Chrome data as well and utilize that. So I think it's interesting because they won't have that sort of market advantage as they do right now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of interesting. It kind of like rearranges the whole structure of Google, I think, and the strategy of Google and how they work and how they've been working. They do a lot of these like Chrome extensions as well that helps you with both SEO, but generally search as well, which also would be limited. So I think there's a lot of different things here and a lot of different takes. But I think the most important thing is that other search engines and other LLMs as well would have access to the data from Chrome.
Yeah, they could potentially, like Search GPT, which just came out, could potentially buy that data, and then that could help them figure out, oh, this works well, this doesn't work well.
Exactly.
Specifically, since we're using it in Chrome anyway. So that's Google can just buy that data back again. So they probably will. I don't know how much they actually rely on this user data compared to other things. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting who will purchase this. We'll keep you updated every week. Don't you worry. Also, Google have been doing some cleaning up with the site reputation abuse, specifically manual actions. It's been big, not something I think we have to worry about too much because we don't have a lot of affiliate clients. However, the visibility of some of our clients can change because bigger websites like Forbes Advisor, which is like the subdomain on Forbes, have been manually penalized. And so if our clients weren't featured there but are now featured on the other spots that are then replacing them, that could be an advantage. So something to look for if you have clients that gets a lot of traffic from these types of affiliate sites. It seems publishers have lost in these, but Reddit seems to also be gaining momentum with the November update even more. So yeah, I invested in Reddit when it came out on stocks. I've been doing quite well. So if you guys just keep putting some money in that, just for a fun fact. But I don't know to what extent we are going to feel this in Europe with these sorts of sites, but hopefully this will scare a few of these. I still find them to be very spammy when you're just a news site talking about toasters. So
I haven't seen anything from our clients, at least. I checked right before this, and I haven't seen anything from any of the
maybe
ones
some
that
of our
we've been working with.
US-based client will have
Not
to
even.
double check. No, and I
Not
wasn't
even.
even thinking rankings. It's more like going into analytics and checking your referral affiliate traffic. That's where I would start looking to see the effects on these if you have an e-commerce client, because I think this is mostly US right now, but they might be going to other markets. Great. Google is also retiring the page experience report in Search Console. That doesn't mean that Core Web Vitals are dead. It doesn't mean Google won't use the data. It's still being tracked, measured, aggregated into reports that can be used. And again, this is interesting because it's Chrome doing this. So we're going back to selling Chrome. How are they going to get all this data? that they were using, right? Again, if we just forget rankings, Core Web Vitals is still a great tool for conversion optimization, etc. It's just good. I think they're really good metrics. I hated the page experience report in Search Console because it just kept. I wasn't tracking all URLs. It seems it was just suddenly your website would just go down, but you're like, we didn't change anything. It didn't. It wasn't consistent. I felt so. Yeah, rip, but not really sad.
It's better. It's for the best.
Yeah, it was cluttering. There's too much stuff, and the problem is clients will come back with questions, and we dropped in. Oh my God! Now we have 0 pages that are green. It's like, do you really? Like they have 20 million URLs, but 200 pages was green. Like it's a bit weird. Bit weird report. Google AI overviews, apparently, according to Lily Ray here, thank you, Lily, seems to be ignoring robots.txt. So block pages are still being shown in AIO, and that's really basically it's like a I don't give an F kind of situation. I feel like from Google here. Also, Google refused to give us a protocol for blocking AI overviews, what do you call it? Almost like the LLM kind of. Fetching your content and then transforming it, right, or generating it. So they refuse to block that as well, which I find troubling. Especially OpenAI was a bit more open with that. You can block your website from being used for training that, which can be dangerous. So we haven't really talked to clients about that specifically. Or I would say, yeah, don't block your entire website from being cloned by AIs. Just perhaps your really unique, valuable content that you don't want people to just reuse, but we still want your brand to be associated with some keywords in LLMs. That's important. And speaking of that, that's a really good segue. Holy moly.
It was really like smooth, really smooth.
Yeah. Ahrefs, they launched a blog post on 10 ways to optimize for LLMs. So this is the new hot topic. We'll probably see a lot more of these guides. And it's about aggregating a lot of information. And we can see here again, there's another one, Randy Fishkin. I don't know, maybe I'll trust him more actually than Ahrefs at this point. How to optimize for LLMs, but he also talks about market share versus other search engines, which is quite interesting. Google is still the market leader, but it's losing some weight. I'll just go through these. These are interesting. How to optimize for LLMs. Invest in PR, makes sense. Include quotes and stats. Do entity research. Ahrefs LLM Chatbot Explorer. Okay. Claim Wikipedia listings. Research brand questions. Invest in Reddit user-generated content. Provide LLM feedback. That's an interesting one. Build out brand schema and hack your way in. Not really. These are just copied from the guide, but overall, if we take a step back, I feel like it's to optimize for LLMs. There's classic SEO that works mainly because we're creating good content. We're white hat. We're trying to really create valuable content that your users like, that connects with your brand and topical authority. That will be part of the LLM's training data set. Whether it's SearchGPT searching the web, finding things about you, more questions you're answering, the better, right? It'll find that content. Or if it's just training a pure LLM from scraping the web. Boom. The other aspect here is I like the Wikipedia stuff, getting listing in books. If you're on Reddit as well, and your brand has been associated with certain types of things or answering those questions there where your brand is mentioned, Reddit is selling that data, I think, to OpenAI. So for training purposes and other pieces. So that's a really interesting strategy. And the same goes for Wikipedia. They're probably scraping or getting that data from Wikipedia directly. I would if I'm training a large LLM. So yeah, it's really interesting. The quotes and stats, they seem to like that as well. And that's probably because they're moving away from being just this answer machine to actually try and incorporate what other people are saying. Instead of just generating everything, how about we take a quote? I think we would trust more a quote, specifically for SearchGPT, than we would just a generated piece of content. So yeah, interesting stuff. But if you're doing good white hat SEO, you're already ahead, I think. Great. Yeah, so a bit of workspace update here. We like to work in Google Workspace, so that's a tool we use. It's really good. I'll probably publish some guides on that later on this channel. But for now, anyone using Docs for meeting notes, you can now also create small tasks and track them. So if you have a Google meeting in your Google Calendar, you can actually just add meeting notes. And if it's recurring, you'll keep having those meeting notes. Everyone can see them shared, but now you have tasks as well related to the meeting. Kind of nice. Oh, and we got Black Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Friday SEO actionable tips. You actually, you probably even worked more on Black Friday pages with some of our clients in the previous years than I have, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've
didn't you have a
worked with
success
quite a lot.
story?
I think we have some. Like I think some of the success stories, like there are some general recommendations. The best SEO tip I think we have is that you need to keep your Black Friday page indexed and accessible at all times, but you need to keep it relevant throughout the year. I think what we see have worked really well is changing the search intent from informational to commercial during the year. So commercial, obviously, when we come into Black November, Black Friday, when it comes closer to the actual sales, when the searches are getting more commercial, you're looking for these different products and want to review different products from different companies.
Mm-hmm.
But throughout the year, it makes a ton of sense to go through a little bit of informational search intent and they're like describing Black Friday, getting, I think we see that in more pages now than we did before, but having like a countdown down to it, explaining, you can still keep the commercial side, you can still explain from your company perspective what can a user, a buyer expect from you on Black Friday, what have you seen previously, links into different categories, like some of the most popular products and these sort of things. I think that's really interesting because you can actually play a lot with Black Friday and Black November.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call that pages, seasonal pages in general, because it's also Christmas, it's also Easter. If you have that, like these different seasons
Mm-hmm.
that you have. I think it's interesting, and I think, but I think the best tip is don't close down your Black Friday
We
page.
see that too much. We see that too often where they close it down and no, they keep it ranking all year round. And of course, you can modify, add. You should have this like tight landing page and some others. And what you want to do is remove them from your main navigation. So you don't want to link to them all year round. And then during closing in, you want to get solid internal links from your main nav to those pages to show importance. What I've liked about this, and I'm not going to go through each of these for the sake of time. Just have a read. There'll be links in the description with summaries as well. So everything we talk about here, you can copy paste it, reuse it, whatever you want. But what I really liked here was the hourly keyword research tip, which is like Google Trends will be a lot more precise for that, and autocomplete as well in Google. The reason for that is because it's super seasonal. I'm not sure how all these other tools will catch a lot of these keywords, um, because they're so like, oh, they might only be searched for in 1 month. So they probably will be caught. But I think if you just rely on SEMrush, Ahrefs, keywords, uh, you're probably going to miss out. I would pop into Search Console, look at previous years if you have that. I would also like to go into Google Ads and look at that because they really want to make money there. So they'll probably give you as many keywords as possible, and then mixing that with Google Trends autocomplete. Boom. So yeah, just don't rely on like classic keyword databases. I believe. I really like
No,
that.
I agree. Also, like you can obviously use SEMrush Ahrefs for what was searched for last year and what has been searched for, not necessarily Black Friday, but what has been searched for throughout the year. What have you gained a lot of
Yeah.
sales from or traffic from?
Mm.
And then converted into Black Friday. How was it searched for last year, the previous years in general? And you can use that for, but I think it's a great tip to like constantly, like throughout Black Friday, of course, changing your site and making it as relevant as possible is
If you
key.
have a whole section, just
Yeah.
subfolder Black Friday, and then you could populate it with a bunch of categories and just hide it a little bit after. I think that might be potent enough. Also, I really like the update content regularly. The freshness part, we know
Mm.
that kind of will count, especially because again, we're going into this when it's Black Friday. It's almost treated as news in the sense that this is now and here. So by
Yeah.
updating it regularly with new products or whatever you're doing, I think Google will find it more to be more relevant as well. You're sending strong signals to Google, just like you would if you're a news site. So those are two tips I would take away from this article. Great. Cover Black Friday. Whew. Removing valid FAQ schema. So has no statistical significant impact on organic traffic. Whoa. Again, I love Search Pilot that do these like kind of mini tricks. It's a great tool as well for A/B testing. We used to implement FAQs everywhere because it would give us a snippet with 2 questions, which made our result much bigger and got more clicks. They kind of removed that. We still tell people to, when we like, okay, let's create helpful content on a category page or blog. Having FAQ can still help. I think it's still useful. You can keep people longer on the page, which is a metric that will also help. If they get their question answered, they might be more likely to convert. But this is no longer a ranking. And the question is, well, since we don't have a snippet, can we still affect rankings? It seems like no. So maybe FAQs are still good, but we don't have to mark them up using structured data. However, there is a link between LLMs and structured data. And when they're trying to scrape the web, first of all, I don't think, if they're like OpenAI is just scraping the web or getting a lot of content from the web, I don't think they're rendering a lot of it with JavaScript. So if we have FAQs in the source code or not, but if we have it as structured data as a script, they will immediately fetch that in. So I think there's been a link between structured data and how they assemble training data for LLMs. And so having that marked up might be able to get you reference for certain questions. I'm really hard to tell here. The link is based on some patterns and stuff that I've been researching. So yeah, don't remove it if you have the markup, but maybe that's not a priority over other markups like product variants that we talked about last week. So yeah.
I never think it's a negative thing to give information to Google through schema markup. Like it's never a negative thing. Obviously, if it's the right information or all that. But if you have it's integrated into the CMS to get these FAQs up whenever you write an article or commercial place, whatever. If that's easy, don't remove that. Like it's not going to have a negative impact for you to provide more information in the code. And it's more likely to have a positive impact than a negative in my opinion. So
yep, agreed. And again, it's our job is more about prioritizing. If you're a SEO consultant for larger companies, it's like, what can we get done first that has more impact than others? But once you reach a level, it's like, well, you can start experimenting. Like once you've done all the important things. So definitely it's more of a prioritization thing than anything. Then a small guide here on how to use AI to write. So it's a list of things it should be used for. And one of them is do not create content with it. I like that. I think the keyword insights AI is like I was part of actually beta testing that. So the way they like group keywords together, it's really, really cool tool. Highly advised to use it. We're trying to build our own ways of doing it, of course. So we don't really have a paid account, but this guy, the way he kind of treats AI as a tool is much better. That's how we should be doing it. So yeah, just definitely have a read there. Also, great content tips from Ross Hudgens from the Brighton conference at San Diego. I wish I'd gone. Kind of like to travel a little bit. I'm going to show you here. This is quite interesting. This is a summary, right? But the sticky top navs, stuff like these, these are quite specific things that I really like. First party data is gold, driving 83% more traffic and value. All I'm saying is these are quite good and very specific insights and learnings. So it's not very top level here. So I really enjoy this. So kudos to Ross Hudgens. I'll be definitely trying to implement this into how we produce content. But yeah, again, first party, if you have your own research based on your own data and things in your content, it's like, of course, that's better content than just generic AI content. So a lot of this just makes sense, but he's just proving it with data. Although the sticky top nav, keep that in mind. Great. This one is interesting, the final one. A study on local TLDs versus international. TLD is the .com or .dk, the part after the last part of the domain. Seems like country-specific domains, and they tested this on Switzerland. They have a ranking advantage for transactional commercial. So people wanting to buy, Google be like, yeah, you should probably use the actual local TLD. Once it's informational, Google will prioritize way more the content quality and all these other factors that it's trying to evaluate. And if a .com wins over a local one, it'll show that. That gives us an interesting issue. Not so much if you're a magazine, not so much if you're pure product, but if you're an e-commerce that tries to do informational and products, then you have a problem. And the question is then, is the best strategy to have your web shops as local TLDs and then have a big .com domain for all your informational content? I'm not sure, because you're still adding a lot of value by having that content to the local domains, and it's, getting backlinks and it's spreading throughout. So no, I wouldn't say that, but it's still interesting. I would just put this study here whenever a client asks you about this when it comes to expanding to other markets. What is it you want to prioritize here? And I think products for e-commerces is probably more of a priority than informational content. So yeah, just an interesting insight here. Have we even worked with some expansions? I know we're currently working with a client that shall remain unnamed, but they're merging a lot of local TLDs into .com. The advantage for that, the reason for that was more of a technical issue. They can keep everything under one domain. It's going to be a lot easier to manage all these markets, but they might lose some product queries, but then informational will gain. And I think both of them, they're actually driving equally amounts of traffic, it seems, in many cases. So have we worked with anyone else in this? I can't remember, Casper.
We have a couple.
Oh.
We have a couple of client experiences here, both positive, both negative. So we have had a site migration for a client where we weren't involved, but where we were involved with the client, but not in the site migration, where they did the exact thing that you're saying there. So they launched from a local domain into a .com domain, and that significantly decreased their traffic on especially like the Canadian sites and some of the other outside of Europe, especially. And we've had the opposite, where we've been working with, it was mostly content we've been working with, now the site migration, but for another client where we actually have positive experiences with having informational content in both the local language and on a .com site. So not the exact same, just translated, but localized. So English and let's just say German for the German market, for instance. So obviously the German content on a DE domain and the English content from a .com domain, and we've seen a positive impact on that for both the English and the German. So it just apparently provides better content.
Cool.
That's an interesting thing. I also think what's interesting with this study is that they've taken Switzerland as a point of departure, because Switzerland.
I think there's a reason for that. It's because they have the German side. They have
exactly.
So you can actually the German, Italian, French. So you can actually analyze kind of 3 countries into one, or 3 languages in one country. I would try and do that with others. I would like to try and see, maybe Austria and Germany and things like that. But
I would like to see it in other countries as well, because what I also have an assumption about here is that backlinks definitely matter. So a lot of these .com sites, maybe also the DE sites, these bigger companies that are definitely probably ranking in Switzerland, they have a better backlink profile, which probably also helps and have it's a variable, I think.
I was going right into that, because part of the study, which people who are watching this video can see here, is that when they looked at the rankings, the interesting part was if you could excel as a local domain with lower domain rating. So the .com domains dominating had a really high one. So the question is, do you want to aggregate it to make a really high one, or is your local domain strong enough to actually dominate well enough? Those are the questions you kind of want to ask. So, but yeah, again, just whenever you have this discussion with your client, remember, reference old. This is brand new, like recent study. So this is probably what you want to reference to kind of guide your decisions. And sometimes you need to let the client decide. After all, just give them the information, enough information, and that's it. No more news until next week. It'll probably be some more. So we'll keep you updated. I thank you, Casper, for joining me and talking through these news. If you like this, just smash the like button, and also subscribe, because I'll keep coming up with these every week until I stop working or retire. So that's a lot. That's a lot of news. They're condensed. You also get your nice description that you can copy paste. You can send that to clients in an email, so they're updated as well. You can send them this video. And yeah, everyone have a great day, and I'll see you around.